Yo, what's good, man? How y'all doing, bro? Over hoops, and today we gonna be talking about some hoops, man. As some of y'all already know with the news, breakout trade no one expected. Donovan Mitchell got traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers in exchange for Garland and Sexton, 3 first-round picks, I believe, with 2 of them being swaps, and Lauri Markkanen and some other young player that I pronounced the name wrong too, so we're not even gonna attempt. But now we're gonna break down in this video how this trade impacts both sides, and I'm just briefly gonna speak on the Jazz because I think it's very clear that most fans know they're in a rebuilding stage. But if you want me to make an exclusive video that goes more into detail about Garland and Sexton's impact on the future rebuild of the Utah Jazz, let me know in the comments down below, man. I'll get right to that as soon as possible. Although Garland and Sexton did only play a total of 11 games last season, my man's is a bucket. He spent a lot of time being in trade rumors regardless, especially with Darius Garland popping off last season the way he did. While Sexton was out, it was almost like a blessing in disguise, as it made it easier for Cleveland to come down to a final decision in terms of the trajectory between the two guards of Garland and Sexton. Given that defensively they really couldn't coexist with each other, Cleveland had to come to terms to who could be the focal point of their offense that would contribute to more of a winning style of play, being that they're both undersized ball-dominant guards that require the ball in their hands to be used to their max potential. Even though Garland and Sexton is going into his 5th season, and even in his best year of averaging 24 points on efficient shooting splits, despite the lack of talent, with him as the focal point of that offense, they were always towards the bottom of the league. And then on top of that, with Garland just making improvements to his game year by year, and also being more of a playmaker within the offense, he isn't turnover prone. He's gotten better with his decision making and his floor spacing, averaging a career high of 22 points, 8 assists, as well as continuing his growth on off-ball movement and being able to create his shots without having the ball in his hands. Oh shit! Oh shit! Garland Sexton, I can definitely see him being a 25-point scorer for Utah in this upcoming season, especially if he bounces back from his previous injury pretty solid, being out for so long last season. And with him being in a new system, of course, he's not going to have as much talent around him. It is a drastic shift from playing in a team with Cleveland to, honestly, it might not be that much of uncharted territory for him. Being that in his tenure with the Cavs, he's probably played with some of the worst rosters they've had in the past decade. But especially now in this opportunity with the Utah Jazz, he'll definitely be getting that green light that he was getting from his first 2 or 3 years in the league. Well, the Cavs did suffer a rough patch towards the second half of the season, eventually missing the playoffs, and also just due to injuries and just players being in and out of the lineup. During that time, we've seen the best stretch of games from Garland we've ever seen in his career, and we got to see glimpses of how he would be as the helm of that offense. And alluding back to that floor spacing remark I made about Garland and his improvement there, when I say the man's made an improvement in his floor spacing, I mean literally on all 3 levels of the game. He ascended in becoming one of the best mid-range shooters in the league today. He's also become even more exceptional at coming off of screens and hitting pull-up shots. Not only has his volume from 3 gone up, but his efficiency from there has ascended as well. Darius Garland is so deadly because not only is he one of the most shiftiest ball handlers in the league, but he is responsible for generating so many points within that offense that the Cleveland has, despite the lack of shot creation they had this previous year. Even though he isn't blessed with some of the size, strength, and athleticism of some modern-day guards today, he definitely is quicker than most NBA players and is very crafty while attacking the rim. You could argue that in his years to come, he can definitely be one of the better offensive options in the league. Despite him being a defensive liability, we can see that there is many all-star appearances and all-NBA appearances that this man has yet to come. His 2-man game with Jared Allen in the pick and roll is very, very underrated. Garland being more than exceptional finishing around the rim despite his small stature. And he also has a tendency to be able to change his floaters or layups and make them seem like he's going up with it, being very adept at bailing out, or extremely excellent at hitting the roll man coming off a screen, or just seeing little lapses in the defense to make tight window passes to the cutters, or even turning it into an alley-oop to Jared Allen or Mobley to finish. And mentioning Mobley, after only his rookie season, this man is already proving to be a generational defensive talent, showing signs of being able to shoot from the perimeter and put the ball on the floor. While his offensive percentages can definitely use some work, specifically from the free throw line and just mid-range and from the three-point line, I can definitely see him growing into a very versatile offensive player, and he does show some signs of being a decent low post passer. And I'm no doctor, but in my opinion, I do believe that if Mobley added about 20 more pounds to his frame, then this next season or two, he can definitely take his defensive potential to a whole nother level. His 1-2 punch with Garland is very successful as well, but it's only 1 year they've gotten playing together, and we will continue to see the chemistry of that develop, alongside with Donovan Mitchell being in this move as well, and also being one of the better scorers in the league. I could see how this can benefit their offense both in the postseason and in the regular season for sure. Specifically in scenarios where Cleveland's offense may be seeming overly reliant on Darius Garland's abilities, now they have another dynamic scorer coming out of the backcourt with Donovan Mitchell, who can also not only serve as a primary shot creator for when Garland is not on the court, but can also gather away some of the defensive attention that he was definitely attracting last year and give him another reliable ball handler to help run the offense, with other complementary pieces who should be able to aid on that side of the ball as well, and Shetty Usman, Ricky Rubio coming back, and Karis LeVert. Not to mention that they still have the 21-year-old Isaac Okoro going into his third year and still in his rookie deal, who can potentially fit the slot they could use as a 3-and-D player on this team. And they don't relatively need him to become no Jason Tatum handle type of guy, but if he can at least come into next season with some new layer of skill to his offensive bag, whether it's improving his shot creation or even just becoming a above average spot up shooter, that can do wonders for this team's offense. And of course, he's already shown signs of being a very versatile defender and has the mold of being a very versatile defender in today's league, as he is 6'5", weighing 225 pounds, having solid athleticism. On offense, he is exceptional at knowing when to cut to the basket and just knowing how to play off the ball when it comes to finishing around the hoop. But he also shows some potential with his ball handling. I don't think he'll ever be anybody that can lead your pick and rolls or be an initiator of your offense, but I do see him being a very solid role piece to this potentially contending roster. Even though I have a strong belief that Garland will be the lead ball handler, being that he's the better playmaker between him and Mitchell, I do believe that the ball won't stick with either one of them. I do feel like Donovan Mitchell will be able to adapt that playing better off the ball, especially with him being an above average shooter as well. Plus, Mitchell has experience already sharing ball handling duties with Mike Conley back in Utah, and even though Mike Conley is no Darius Garland, it definitely did help Mitchell have to put himself in a position to create offense for himself without being the main ball handler. I mean, they both are efficient scorers coming out of the backcourt, so offensively, I find it hard to really doubt that they can coexist, but defensively is where the concerns lie, as they are both below average defenders. I guess Donovan Mitchell can be classified as an average defender when he really tries, but he is inconsistent on that end. A logical downfall for them, you feel me? Already what they have with Jared Allen and Mobley, I feel like that's like the best duo to really be suited to guard a Giannis or Embiid coming out of the East. A 3-and-D player like a Jay Crowder would really suit well for them. Not only would Jay Crowder's veteran presence aid a young team like this, but his ability to space the floor and be a reliable catch-and-shoot player and provide this team with the level of defensive toughness on the perimeter that they do lack at right now. But in terms of what they have protecting the rim, they probably have the best front court rim protectors coming out of the East. And again, with Garland being better at playing off the ball and becoming one of the league's best shooters and playmakers, this can be a match made in heaven in the backcourt. Lauri Markkanen, on the other hand, solid stretch big man. He did contribute to a lot of the size that Cleveland had in their lineups last season. And not to say that he was like this defensive stopper for them, but he just added to the defensive versatility that team had. And I do feel that with this trade that Cleveland semi-lost that. The unique lineups they would run being that they had such lengthy players on the floor at most times. In Utah acquiring Lauri Markkanen, I do believe they acquired themselves a nice floor spacing big man who might be below average at finishing around the rim or rebounding for you or even giving you slight rim protection, but can turn out to be a unicorn offensive player, with him showing flashes of able to create shots for himself being as big as he is. While Markkanen's shot IQ is still carving itself in the NBA, his shooting ability will always be of value to an NBA team for the simple fact that he could be a reliable pick and pop partner or a spot-up shooter if you need him to be in the offense. While he is a streaky scorer, I ain't saying the man's going to be averaging over 25 in Utah, but he'll at least give Garland and Sexton another offensive option to rely on while they'll be having a shitty season next year. With the picks, we know they're stacking up. They're going towards the rebuild route, and Garland and Sexton could potentially be the centerpiece of this rebuild that Utah is going to be going on. And not to say that he's any Donovan Mitchell, but no, offensively, it's not like you're getting a major drop-off if he recovers successfully. Of all the teams that were being reported, Cleveland was not most NBA fans was expecting, let's say that. Unless you were a Cleveland fan that was just getting behind the scenes drop. New York was big on the rumors. The Lakers eventually got in those rumors. Brooklyn, Miami. And little do we know it, once again, a team that we just did not expect just ends up getting the star player that is in all these famous city trade rumors. I don't know if you guys peeped too. The Knicks were kind of salty about it, talking about some locked in shit with RJ Barrett. Yeah, have fun in the play-in. I'm not going to hold y'all. Like, they just miss out on mad stars when they're in their prime. And I know the risk was pretty high given what Utah wanted from New York during that whole trade rumor saga, as Knicks fans already have their eyes set on the future and in the fantasy land of the next all-star guard that they will try to acquire. But as we know, in classic old Knicks fashion, Lee baited into thinking they'll get a star during trade rumors or free agency, and the contrary happens. So, yeah. As for Cleveland, on the other hand, though, is up for grabs in terms of who's going to be playing that 3 for them, because they can run Caris LeVert there if they want more of an offensive punch. They do have Isaac Okoro, who is going into his 3rd year and is their best perimeter defender as of right now, but is a liability for them on the offensive end. Could assume that Isaac Okoro will be the odd man out in a playoff series, daring him to beat them or either just helping off of him. But again, if they need some more defensive impact in that lineup, that's where I believe Isaac Okoro can fit himself into. Caris LeVert, on the other hand, I mean, we just got to really rely on the man's health. But at least when healthy, he can definitely add another layer to this Cavs offense with his shot creation ability. So he can be a very streaky scorer at times. Given this man's volume scoring, in my honest opinion, I can see this man, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, at least averaging 15 to 19 points on this roster. So can just be a very solid 6th man for you or a 3rd scoring option as well. I don't think Cleveland can go wrong with starting either him or Okoro, depending on the matchup they go against. It will require LeVert to add some more effort on that end of the floor, though, given that, again, the backcourt isn't the best defensively. But I do believe that Donovan Mitchell, at the best, can be an average defender when he's actually trying. So he won't be relied on to be that primary scoring option for this Cleveland roster, or at least I should say won't be relied on as heavily as he was in Utah. He's going to be the #1 option scoring wise, especially with Garland being much more of a passing guard. At the same time, it's not going to be a similar situation as to Utah, where he's not playing with any other 20-point scorers. It's not like he can really rely on someone else as consistently to make up for that offensive load. Given how, solid, of course, Mike Conley was, of course, Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gobert, Bogdanovich, they can pop off for you every now and then, but with Garland, man's just came off a career-high season of averaging 22 and 8. And I don't see those numbers drastically falling off even due to him playing with Donovan Mitchell. I have him at least averaging 20 and 10 off of this move alone. And not to mention, they do have Ricky Rubio coming off of the bench, who is also coming off of one of his better seasons as well, and will be on the roster for the next 2 to 3 years. And they have Kevin Love, who's more accustomed to playing more of a role player style. This is his contract year as well, the final year of that abysmal contract they gave him back a couple years ago. But he was a very serviceable big man coming off the bench and stretching the floor for them. And we know that he could be a decent rebounder as well. But he is a defensive liability, so they definitely would need a good defensive big man in lineups when they do have him out on the floor. At the end of the day, this Cleveland roster, does this put them at the top of the East alongside with the Bucks and Miami and the Sixers? I don't know if this is a bold take or not, but yes, I do believe this puts them in the conversation of being some dark horse contenders. Now, in my personal opinion, would I put my money on them making it to the finals with this given roster? No, because I do believe that they could use a good amount of experience playing together. The chemistry definitely got to continue to grow Mobley's progression and leap into his sophomore season is also going to play a big factor in how successful this Cavs team is going to be. And the strides he takes in improving on both his offensive and defensive skills will also play a major factor. I think Jared Allen, as he is already a solidified, good all-star level big man to have, being one of the better rim protectors in the league and one of the better pick-and-roll partners to have, an efficient lob target, and just being one of the league's better offensive rebounders. Just a collection of young talent, and they do have veteran pieces in Ricky Rubio and Robin Lopez to come off the bench and provide some leadership alongside with Kevin Love, who also has championship experience. I do got to give props to this Cleveland team and being able to rebuild so relatively fast instead of going the long and slow rebuild route post-LeBron era. I mean, they really had to bring themselves out the slum after that LeBron situation happened. After LeBron had gone to LA, going into the 2019 season, Cleveland has seen themselves go from consistent finals contenders to being a bottom-of-the-barrel NBA team, with Garland and Sexton being only 20 years old and being their best player, a disgruntled Kevin Love, who had just received a max contract and wasn't happy with his role, and a Jordan Clarkson, who was a consistent second option for them. LeBron did end up winning a championship with the Lakers 2 years removed from being from Cleveland. It is just crazy how life comes full circle, and now Cleveland's in better position for the long term to be contenders in the NBA. With this rise in talent coming from Cleveland's roster, don't be surprised if LeBron retires in a Cleveland jersey when it's all said and done. Look at where they at now, you know? So at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, obviously, if healthy, can they surprise a couple teams making it deep in the playoffs? I believe so. Now, being that Cleveland did lose that unique advantage they had in terms of the length in their lineups, I do believe that a trade like this and them acquiring Donovan Mitchell would lead them to have a disadvantage going against lengthier teams, whether it be like a Milwaukee or even like a Philadelphia 76ers, because not only are those teams great defensively, those teams have lengthy perimeter defenders that can help slow down Garland or Donovan Mitchell if need be in a playoff series. Now, again, I ain't saying they're going to stop the two, as this trade easily gives them one of the best offensive backcourts in the league right now. No, you throw Matisse Thybulle on them, at least new acquisitions in PJ Tucker and D'Anthony Melton. And even coming from Milwaukee side with them picking up Joe Ingles and having aggressive physical defenders like Grayson Allen, Giannis, Brook Lopez. A team like Miami, it can give them a solid run for their money in a playoff series, because even though they might not have the length that Milwaukee or Philadelphia has, Miami has proven in and out of every year that they have been a sound elite defensive team. And they're just very well known for being a very aggressive switching team. They trap heavy on screen actions, which I assume Cleveland will be running a lot of, with Garland and Mitchell being in their backcourt. And Miami is no slouch, man. They'll definitely apply that physical defensive pressure on those two and test their physicality levels to really be able to score consistently in a series. These lengthy bodies can definitely put some pressure on the offensive load that Garland and Donovan Mitchell will have in a playoff series. And if they don't adjust well to it, I don't believe that Cleveland will be able to make it past them. They have a lot of talent on this roster at this point, and it's hard to even argue whether these dudes are ready or not, you know, depending on how much they can really show out in these playoffs coming up. That being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. If you ain't new, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, stop acting brand new. And subscribe to the channel, man. We get litty in this section. If you like talking hoops, man, this is the perfect place to enjoy that. Comment down below what record you think the Cavs will finish with this season and what seeding you think they will have going into the playoffs. And do you think they will be contenders coming out of the East? Or you could comment down below your doubts in this team. Will this be like the new Garland and Sexton 2.0? Hey, who knows? Maybe they don't even end up making the playoffs. Let me know down below. And I'ma holla at y'all, man. Y'all be easy.